Shalom. Call halal Yahweh by Shem Shai by Shem Rakar. Double honors unto the apostles, double honors unto the elder bishops. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, that are risking their lives and their freedom to do so, now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth, among the heathen nations that look like the heathens, and to the Akwaf that are listening and learning, to you, I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Chicago, coming at you with another lesson in truth. This is Brother Dana Stevens. I'm still on the fence with this guy. Sometimes I think he might be Jake. That's not even really that important. The Lord will set out who gather up the scattered that are among the heathen. But he definitely loves going in on the so-called white man. But I'm here to correct him. Because one thing that Dana Stevens has never done, he's never identified the so-called white man as Esau, Edom. He keeps calling them white, which is a false social construct that they created to hide behind, that the world may not know their dark secret. And their deepest, darkest secret is that they are the biblical Edomites, whose assignment from heaven was to rule the earth for a short period of time in the end of days, and be found ruling the earth in the end of days when the Lord comes back, and then be destroyed for their heinous and wicked works, to be exposed and shamed. So this is like a 12-minute video that he did, and I'm gonna play the first 5 minutes of it and just add some scripture to it and make some clarifications on some things that he doesn't. But whiteness was created in 1681. That's when it was mentioned before then, but it was actually written into law, into documentation in 1681 in Virginia. All right, and you can check out the research of mainly of Dr. Jacqueline Badalora, and also historian what's his name, Theodore. Now his name is leaving me. I can't think of his name right now. I think his name is Theodore Allen, but it was of his research that Dr. Badalora went into, and that's how she went, found this information out. So literally he was the first one to bring it out. All right. But without any further ado, well, actually, let me just grab a scripture first. Let's go to one of my favorites, which is Deuteronomy 33 and 29. And it says, "Happy art thou, O Israel, who is like unto thee, O people saved by Yahweh, the shield of thy help, who is the sword of thy excellency, and thy enemies shall be found liars unto thee, and thou shalt tread upon their high places." Well, telling real history is treading upon their high places in a sense, because Esau has hidden behind his lies, which has made himself high and mighty. When the truth is, he's the basest, the lowest of men on a total pole of creation. All right, and he's hid that and glorified himself, and his history and his existence is all based upon fabrications and history and lies. Point blank, period.
Well, hello to everybody out there in this great big world. Yes, this is your brother Dana, and I'm coming to you from the city of Atlanta. My white evangelical family members, it wouldn't bother me so much if this gentleman seen here, which is this gentleman seen here, was running from his enemies. But running from your own people really reveals the truth of white supremacy behind the curtain. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you've ever watched The Wizard of Oz, The Wiz, you know that there is this wizard that everybody fears. When Dorothy and them reached the wizard, this is what they were confronted with. But when they peeked behind the curtain to the reality of who the wizard really was,
He was Esau Edom. Let's see if we can take that back just a little bit. Who the wizard really was. And one thing that you can see is that the paper that is printed, all right? And if you look at the wizard's face and the white shirt he's wearing, his hand, his face, Brother Dana's face, they are red. All right? They're not white at all. That's part of the deception that he's going to talk about, how they've deceived and lied, and the fact that they are the biblical Edomites is part of that. All right? This is Genesis. Do this. Why I can't remember that scripture right now. It's bugging me. There we go. Oh wow, how could I forget that? This is Genesis 25. Well, the point is in 25, but I'm going to start in verse 21. All right. And it reads, Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was barren, and Yahweh was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of Yahweh. And Yahweh said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, 2 manner of people that shall be separated from thy bowels. So she had 2 different races of people, all right, that were going to be completely different in every way, in nature and in look, all right. And it says, and the one people shall be stronger than the other, and the elder shall serve the younger. So whoever was going to come out first is going to serve the younger, because the younger is going to get the kingdom of heaven. All right. And you see the arrow on my cursor. All right. Right there on the line between white and red. And these people refer to themselves as white. And you can clearly see. This is one of the great things about modern day technology, this high definition. See Brother Dana's neck and his face. They are indeed red. And I love it when they wear something white or they stand next to something white, because then you really see it. All right? And it says, and when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb, and the first came out red all over like a hairy garment. And they called his name Esau. Didn't say it was hairy. It said like a hairy garment. There were garments that were hairy, that they dyed red in those days. And the red was the way that these men's skin look. Or just Google white infants, newborns. All right? They're red like Brother Dana, even redder in a lot of cases. Okay? And that's because their skin is actually translucent and the blood shows forth underneath it. What prevents you from seeing that on people with melanin in most cases is because of melanin. You can't see it. So all people have their redness under their skin, but with them, because their skin is translucent, you can see the redness under their skin, giving them that red appearance. But they put the false social construct of white upon themselves to hide. All right?
Nothing but an old white man with gray hair, just knowing how to manipulate, deceive, indoctrinate, oppress, put fear in the people.
Hold on. Deceive and oppress. Let's go to Jeremiah. Even though this is, the scriptures are manyfold, this was talking about wicked Israelites at the time, but it applies to Esau today. Remember, everything in the Bible is manyfold in most cases, all right? But this is Jeremiah 9 and 8, and it reads, Their tongue is as an arrow shot out. It speak of deceit. One speaketh peaceably to his neighbor with his mouth, but in his heart he layeth his weight. All right? And that's what they do. They set traps for you. Tell you that something is good for you medically when it completely isn't. And among other things. But there we go.
And that is exactly what white supremacy has done all these years. It has stolen, it has murdered, it has oppressed, it has lied.
That's how they got the world. In Genesis 27:40, it says, by the sword thou shalt live. So basically, you're going to rob, rape, plunder, and steal until your time is up. Then you're going to get put in a pit for 1,000 years. Basically, that was the Dark Ages. And when the so-called Negroes, who were Israelites, ruled all of Europe, ruled all the modern world for that 1,000-year period of time, from about 200 A.D. All the way up until the Renaissance. That was about 1,000 years. All right, and then Esau got free, and the Renaissance was a rebirth. What did they do? They went around trying to destroy and cut off or cover up all the evidence of the dark people that were living in Scotland, Ireland, England, Slovenia, Germany, etc., But there was so many relics and images left behind, they couldn't even destroy them or hide them all. And being the greedy people that they are, knowing that a lot of these relics were worth money, a lot of them kept them. And now those people died, and now those relics are out, and people are able to actually see them. But let us continue.
It has cheated. It has falsely indoctrinated.
Yep. The school system.
And right now, on trial, you are seeing ultimately white supremacy. And the reason why white evangelical heterosexual men fear their own white women.
Ooh, this is Job 27:15. And it reads, those that remain, matter of fact, I'm going to start at 14, 20 and 15. If his children be multiplied, it is for the sword, and his offspring shall not be satisfied with bread. They having a problem. That's what this whole Roe versus Wade is about, to stop so-called white women, Edomite women, from having abortions, because they keep worrying about becoming a minority when they've been the minority for many years now. That's a lie too. That's why they have melanated people, brown people coming in from different parts of the Middle East and North Africa and Mesopotamia, and they come to America and they get labeled as white and as so-called white people, and many of them are darker than I am. And I know I'm not the darkest person. I got a lot, color in the summer. I get a little darker. But nevertheless, I do have melanin, and you have people that are truly, truly brown-skinned people. Some of them are browner than some Negroes, some dark-skinned Hispanics, but yet they're called white. They do that a lot to people who come from the different parts of South America, other Israelites. You got a dark-skinned Israelites that from the Northern Kingdom, a Dominican or Puerto Rican, sometimes darker than the Negro standing next to them, but yet they've been identified as white in some cases, many cases. White Hispanic. So they just, make up stuff. But let's continue. It says, and those that remained of him shall be buried in death, and his widows shall not weep. And like he said, the fact that Dr. Jacqueline Badalore really, a lot of the history that's coming out that's exposing the wickedness and the cruelty of the so-called white man is by white women. But see, women naturally gravitate towards power, and in the spirit, they can see the rise of the Israelites. They know that brown-skinned men are about to rule the world again. The only people that can't see that is the 2/3 of our own people. All right. So all our people, all these brown women that want to go and cleave on to red men, woe be unto them. This is not that time to be doing that. Wow, when I said that, it said 1441. I just looked up and saw it, but here we go.
Because in this trial, these white women have gone straight to that stand and in confidence and boldness have spoken the truth, while the white men, majority of them, run, have a lawyer, plead the fifth, refuse to answer. Because behind the curtain, white supremacy is a coward.
Yes.
And the only way it has gotten to this place of power and sustained it is through manipulation, cheating, lying, oppressing, injustice. So white evangelicals, when I think of your white Jesus and your white Christianity and your white God that causes somebody to run,
which is completely not biblical. All right, the you know who the world ignorantly calls God and Jesus, the angels and the Israelites are all described as having dark melanated skin and woolly hair. They all are, if you actually read the Bible. Not the artist's depictions that were created by the so-called white man. I have a book that I'm reading called The Medieval Empire of the Israelites. And it shows you how they were ruling in Europe, Africa, and Asia. But in that book, on page 9, it tells you how there was a set of scientists called the amateurs in the 1700s that actually created art, all right, and then buried it for 7 years and dug it up. And, look what I found. And it's the art of the Israelites and of the ancient world and that whole sort of, which goes to show you carbon dating is bullshit, because you best believe those things falsified artistry that they created is sitting in museums in different places. But it gave witness to this. That's the sort of thing that these people do. So they lie, cheat, cheat, and steal their way to the top. These are only people that will rig a race for them to win, brag about winning, and then scoff the people who lost when they only lost because they rigged the race, and still be proud. That's the nature of the so-called white man, and have no problem glorying in his lie, basking in it.
It reminds me of John chapter 10, verse 12, where it says, "The hired hand is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, even when that wolf is his own self, he abandons the sheep and he runs away." But this is the main point of the video. It's not just to reveal how coward white supremacy really is when you see beyond the curtain, but to notify you, my white evangelical family members, you white Gentiles, of Revelations chapter 18, verse 6, when it says, "The true God is going to give back to the nation that has oppressed his chosen people, this. Give back to her," white evangelicalism, United States of America.
That's right.
"Give back to her as she has given. Pay her back double for what she has done."
Let's pause right there. So let's go to Revelation 13, 9, and 10 to give the precept of what he just read. And it reads, what are we giving back? Brutality and slavery. The most brutal, because it's got to be double. So it's going to be the most brutal form of captivity, of slavery, that the earth has ever seen. And it's going to all be justified by God for real this time. By Yahweh, by Shem Shai. All right? So the wickedness they did unto us, everything that's lawful, all right, because we're not going to do unlawful things to them. like messing with genitalia and, effeminate, weird stuff like that. But they're going to get it, and they're going to get it bad. This is Revelation 13, 9 and 10, and it reads, "If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity, into slavery, shall go into captivity, into slavery. He that killeth with the sword," Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, was blessed with the sword. All right. "Must be killed with the sword." All right. "Here is the patience," which means to suffer. So to suffer as you waiting. "Here is the patience and the faith of the saints." So the saints are patiently waiting, suffering, the Israelites, to put into captivity and oppress those that put into captivity and oppress them. Thus saith the Bible.
Pour her a double portion from her own cup. And you know what's in your cup. And you know what you have poured out.
That's why they fight not to be white. Not to be Esau, and want to cling on to this false narrative they've created for themselves of whiteness. And then they try to teach a doctrine that the Edomites were done away with, when the Bible tells you the Edomites are going to be done away with by the Israelites, by the northern and the southern kingdom that are rejoined together. And guess what? The southern and the northern kingdom that were also oppressed together are joining back together now as I speak. So that hasn't happened yet. This is a future prophecy.
Brothers and sisters, and our Native American brothers and sisters
Yep.
who lived in this land peacefully until you came and slaughtered them.
This is Jeremiah 50 and 33. "Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together." All right? "And all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go." The so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans were all hung, sold, and shipped on slave ships, sometimes together, sometimes on the plantations together. And all that history is coming out now. And there, for all you idiotic black-only Israelites, who come with that very erroneous and wicked doctrine, there's no scripture that says that we share captivity with another nation. All right? So with that, I hope this was edifying and eye-opening. Call halal Yahweh Bashan Awashai, Bashem Rakakwadash, Wa Abba Babal, Kwam Yasharala Shalom.